Yeah. Yeah.
What is up, everybody? We are live on the Cornerman here with Ryan the Mighty Quinn and Dean Thomas, UFC ESPN analyst. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Good to be here. Good to see you again.
Yeah. Man, I really appreciate you coming on. I know you got back from Austin yesterday and you got a busy travel week. Go ahead, get into that.
Yeah, man, it's been really busy. With all the shows being back on the road again, the fight nights being back on the road again, it's exciting. I think the fighters are truly responding to that in terms of their performances. As we saw in Austin, it was 8 knockouts, 1 submission in 13 fights. I mean, that's just a crazy number of finishes and performances by guys. So, I mean, it's been crazy, and I'm just glad to still be a part of it.
Oh yeah, no, Austin was that card crushed it. It really was just such a great card in the main event, which we're gonna get into slightly in a little bit. I was joking. I tweeted to somebody they should all be walking out to this music, and it was the UFC one intro, because it was just crazy finishes left and right. But in the main event, actually, I've been catching a lot of heat online lately because the way that I scored the main event, I had Emmett winning 3 rounds to 2. I guess this was a fight where my scores were all over the place. How'd you feel about that fight?
No, I thought Kattar won the fight. I thought Kattar did enough to win, 3 of those rounds. I didn't think, for as much, I thought that Kattar defensively was good, and he didn't take as many big shots as I think people thought he took because he got pushed around a lot because he's very loose and relaxed. So when you're loose and relaxed like that, you tend to get moved around a lot. But I thought what killed Kattar is that he didn't open up his offense enough, and I think that that's really what killed him. I thought Kattar did enough to help himself lose the fight as opposed to Emmett winning the fight. Kattar did enough to lose the fight.
Yeah, I kind of said that too. First, I felt the 2 rounds that Kattar won. I thought that he won those rounds more than Emmett won the other 3 rounds, if that makes sense. I thought that too. I'm like, I thought Kattar was going to kick a little bit more, especially with that front kick to keep the shorter, loopy punch fighter away. I guess he just felt really comfortable with that jab. I did like how he was faking jabs a lot. I thought that he was just changing angles on the jabs, which I thought was working. He had a nice shovel punch in the first round. But then I think it was Cormier that said, "Oh, he's faking jabs." Like, he is, but there was times too, to your point, there was no right hand behind it. There was no double jab, and there was even times where he was feinting and taking a step back and, getting off the momentum. Now, the reason why I felt he won, going back to, like, as you know, I've been speaking to a lot of the commissioners lately, and they make a pretty good point that, like, damage is scored. But, like, this is why I feel like they need to talk to the fighters beforehand. Like, they make a good point that damage is scored in the round that it took place in. So, like, he cut and bruised Emmett in the first and fourth round. So I gave those rounds hands down to Kattar, and I feel like, because I was texting with somebody after, and they're like, "Well, look at his face." I'm like, "Yes, and that was scored, but that doesn't accumulate being scored throughout the fight, according to the judges." But I, like you said in the post fight too, Emmett was really good with moving him with those power punches. I felt that was enough to, as they call it, impact in the scoring criteria. I thought it affected the fight. And another thing it did work a little bit, but the elbows for that Kattar was throwing, I was surprised that he was going to that so much, just because I thought he would want to stay long, and that puts you kind of in range for a shorter fighter. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I thought that also was a detriment to his performance. Reaching for those elbows because he was too far away and he was reaching and getting himself out of position, and that's uncharacteristic of Kattar. But I think that because he was hitting them with so many jabs and it wasn't having the impact that he thought that it would have, I think he was a little desperate and trying to do something that had a little bit more impact to it, like elbows, because we know that elbows can change the game. Like, if you watch the Phil Hall's Deron Wynn fight, you can see how detrimental elbows can be to a person. So I think that's why he was reaching so much for those elbows. But the whole thing is I think it's going to be impossible to really get on the same page with everybody on how fights should be scored, because you said, okay, he got cut, but getting cut is quite arbitrary. Like, the same punch that hit you
Hmm.
may cut one guy, but not another guy. So you can't really count that as, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's going to be very difficult for us to get on the same page in terms of how we want to score, because now we're counting damage. But is that more effective than being close to finish with submissions? Because you can get really close to finishing with submissions and not do any damage. And like,
Yeah.
but why does that weigh less than hitting somebody and doing damage and still not finishing? So it's, I mean, I think we're never going to get on the same page with this.
Man, it sucks. I hate saying never, but like to your, weeks ago, when Dominic came forward talking about scoring off of a defended takedown, and I was like, well, I mean, but then if you put it at another aspect as to what you just did with scoring grappling, that is impact that's affecting a fighter. Like I was Santos with Valentina with this. That's pretty impactful on the fight when you can't breathe, like,
Yeah.
or even when you see there should be like a rule, like at what point the elbow goes past the neck or something like that. I mean, but, even that though, like this chokes too. We've seen people submit like this, so it's like these attempts, these are impactful attempts, these are threatening attempts. I think this is even worse than a jab at this grand scheme of things, like so. That's something I wish we would get on more. A scoring, grappling, and an offensive, as well as a stalling technique.
But the thing is, the reality is if you stop counting that as being impactful, what you're going to do is you're going to change the game, and it's going to turn into, Triller, right? I think
Mhm.
that's essentially what we're going to have, is just boxing with, some grappling on the feet. We're
Yeah,
gonna see less, because guys are gonna be like, why am I going to waste time on jiu-jitsu if they're not going to give me any points for these attempts? So we're going to see a lot less of that if that's really the way we're going. So I don't really like it.
I feel like we're already going that way. I know I went through a point in my career where I was told I got to get my hands going because everyone thinks I'm boring, and I went through a good like 6 to 8 month period where I was just a vanilla fighter because I was trying to go against everything I trained to become.
Yeah.
I mean, well, okay, not that extreme, but it is. Yeah, they want to see the striking. My interview posted later today with Andy Foster, I kind of discussed that with him. Um, but anyway, so somewhat related. The reason why I wanted to have you on, you announced that you're going to be doing the judges certification course and going to the ABC conference at the end of July. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Well, the reality is that it's very easy to sit from our perspective and judge the judges for what
Mhm.
they saw. And I know for me, like, I don't really want to be a judge. I don't want to be in that position to be, one of three guys in the world that are, responsible for the victory of another man. I mean, that's a very difficult position to be in. But
Mhm.
I can't judge them if I didn't go what they went through and at least know what they know in terms of how they're supposed to score. So for me, I said the only way, it's almost like complaining about the president but not voting,
Yeah.
right? So for me, I said, if I'm gonna sit back and sit on my high horse from my position and go, this guy won, that guy won, what are these judges looking at? I should at least take the course and see what they go through and how they're being trained to score fights. And then at that point, then I feel qualified to at least say what I say. Or, I might show up to a UFC event and be like, yo, Dana, I got this one. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be in a position to where I have the information, the same information that they got, to be able to sit on that panel and talk the mess that I want to talk, because I went through what they went through.
I 100%. I think that's part of the reason why I scored Emmett the fight so confidently is because I'm just really sensitive to talking with the judges right now and seeing what they're looking for in terms of scoring. Now, and I think to your point too, that's you're just adding another wrinkle to the analyst team. It's like, listen, the scoring goes like this, it's going like this. This is what they're looking for, and then this is what they saw. And also, you could say, listen, the scoring goes like this. This is what they're looking for, and that judge didn't see it, or that judge chose not to see it, like things like that. And or that you don't got to single anybody out, but you could say like that it was wrong here, according, and I think that's just so great that UFC and ESPN is going to have someone in the booth with that knowledge, with that certification now.
Well, and another thing too was, like, let's go back to the Kattar fight. So
Mhm.
obviously impact is what they're looking at. But
Mhm.
try to think of things from Cater's perspective. Cater's
Mhm.
moving around, and for him, I don't think he really thought he was taking a lot of big shots. I thought that he probably was thinking, I'm rolling with these shots. They're not hurting me. But look how many
Mhm.
times look how many times I'm jabbing this guy. Like
Mhm.
I'm the one doing all the offense here because I'm jabbing this guy. But he doesn't know that he's not being scored on that because
Yeah.
he doesn't realize that because he's in the first person perspective. So he doesn't realize that he's getting pushed around and muscled around the way we see it, the way we see it, because he wasn't taking the big shots. So
Yeah.
it's very unfair for Calvin to be in that position.
I Part of the issue is it's like everything is a tiebreaker, then another tiebreaker. It feels like with the MMA scoring, like damage is what we're looking at, and then if there's no damage, then there's impact. And clearly, the judges felt that the power punches, which he didn't take, like you said, we need to establish that he didn't take the punches, but they did move him off pounds. He absorbed them, he blocked. They felt that that was more impactful than the jabs being landed. Um, why? More questions for the judges, like, but it's
Yeah.
more, that's like what I was saying prior is like, if you get cut in the first round and then it opens up again 2 rounds later, are you being scored on the same cut that opened up in the first round? Or are you being a whole new damage being made? Like, it's more questions. But I agree with you 110%. Like, I don't know exactly what the damage is I'm looking for. This is why it's good that you're doing this. This is why you're putting yourself out there. And circling back to the grappling in the situation you're going to be in, I mean, from what we've seen, they claim to be very receptive to stuff that we have to say as fighters and as coaches, and that's great. I think during that time, I know they have like a time where they said that they play around on the mats with jujitsu and stuff like that. I really hope that they pick your brain as to, let me put you in this position and you tell me that it's not impactful, or you tell me that no damage is being done here. And then maybe they'll see, okay, yeah, I could see how this is tiresome and frustrating and even restricting my breathing, and we're just using this as an example. Um, you could also get down on your back and be like, listen, if a fighter's got his hips up and his knees in the opponent's armpits, then he's going to be stalling. Then I would start moving things there, something along those lines. Do you think that situation would come about?
I'm hoping, that's why I'm
Mm.
going. Like I'm totally
Yeah,
going just to, experience what they experience and
yeah.
and they seem to be very like Mike Mazzulli was like, hey, listen, we're open to suggestions. You guys just never show up. I didn't know they were open to suggestions. I'm always thinking like, yo, these guys are so closed off and like they do their own thing and they don't ever want to talk to nobody because
Mhm.
I remember specifically being at it was in an event in Tampa and I
Mhm.
remember James Waring, he was giving a speech before the fight, talking, whatever he was saying. And I asked him in front of everybody, I said, hey, um, who are the judges tonight? And you know what he told me? Don't worry about that. You don't have to worry about who the judges are. I
Mhm.
said, okay, okay. And in front of everybody, he embarrassed me, Ryan. I was embarrassed. I tucked my tail and I put my head down and I walked away. Later, when he realized who he said it to, he like apologized, but that's okay. But he embarrassed me. Like that was embarrassing because I think the fighters have a right to know. Like, why would you not want to tell the fighters who the judges are? And because then they know what they're looking for. See, and that's all the more reason why I think open scoring is necessary because we can't agree on what it is. But the only people who matter are those three judges. So
Yeah.
if me and you can't agree, me and you both have an extensive amount of knowledge. If me and you can't agree, how do we expect everybody else to agree? And then also when you're relying on three judges, we should know what they're seeing in real time. Like that's the reason why. Like listen, I don't care if you say a jab is more impactful than a leg kick. I don't care. Like if that's what you say, that's what you say. But I would like to know that while I'm
Mhm.
fighting.
Yeah, no, I think the judges need to be like, I told you I'm really big on. I think the judges need to be, and like Mike Mazzulli was receptive to it, having a judge that's going to be on staff the night before, the night later, at that rules meeting. That they explain what's safe, what's a foul, and what's legal and illegal. Why can't they have a judge there explaining and the rules, asking the criteria? Like in baseball, you're never guessing who the home plate umpire is. In football, you're never guessing who the ground chief is in the backfield.
Yeah,
It's
you know who's there. You know who's there.
Yeah,
Like you don't
yeah.
just find out moments before, and then when the fight happens, and then like it's all these surprises. It's just a bunch of surprises for fighters. I mean, it's like I get it. Their job is to go out there and try to finish the fight, whatever. But this we're getting to the point. It's not that easy to just go out there and just finish the fight. Like
Yeah.
I would love to just go out there and just finish the fight, but this ain't 1997.
Yeah, yeah, we got some growing to do. I mean, we've grown. We got a little more to do. No, and I know a lot of the analogy is amateur wrestling. But you know what? In amateur wrestling, before the match or before the finals of big tournaments, the referees would say, "Hey, I'm reffing your fight. I don't want to see stalling. If you're up and you're only hanging on to the clinch or the 2-on-1, or you're just riding them out, I'm going to tell you to keep moving, or I'm going to deduct that point. I'm not saying we're going to deduct points, but the person who's in charge of our scoring in a setting similar to mixed martial arts is letting us know what's going to happen. I
Well,
make my
the
analogy.
whole stalling argument is hogwash to me. To be honest with you, I mean, I think people go back to boxing where there's 12 rounds and a
Mhm,
guy's up 7 rounds comfortably, and then he's just taking his time for the last 5 rounds. So you have to sit through 5 rounds of a guy just kind of moving around. But we're talking about 3-round fights here. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about 3-round fights where there's a lot more that can be done and a lot
mhm,
that can change a lot faster. So I know if I'm down 2 rounds and
mhm.
this guy's trying to get comfortable, I'm on his behind. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah,
on his behind.
and that's the other beauty about MMA is like I know Mike Mazzulli was worried about, oh well, if the fighter's down and he knows he's down with the open scoring, then it's unsafe for the fighter because he's coming forward with reckless abandon. He doesn't have to in MMA. He has the choice to take the fighter down and submit him,
Yeah, for
which is
sure. Like,
safer.
and that's probably what he's going to be more likely to do. And they say, oh, he can get hurt. Like, it's not like they're allowing them to add weapons at that point. Like, how much more
Yeah.
hurt could he get knowing
Mhm.
that he's down? Other than, what I'm saying? Like, what, is he going to get more hurt because now he's going? Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I'm not like, according to the rules, the third tiebreaker, so to speak, is duration, which is how much of that round are you winning. If you're controlling someone on the ground, you're winning the round, and to me, I mean, I know this is easier said than done, but you know what, I'm going to say it anyway. It's the fighter's job on bottom to escape.
Oh yeah,
That's
one
part
hundred
of the fight.
percent.
So
Yeah,
that's what it
100%.
is. Yeah, so if they, I was a wrestler, not that I had great hands when I got into mixed martial arts, but I had to learn how to throw hands. I didn't come at people in my wrestling stance with my singlet on.
Yeah.
So like if I had to learn how to throw hands and grapple, why can't these guys learn how to defensive wrestle?
Well,
It's
that's just it. Like
Mhm.
you're asking the better fighter to dumb themselves down in order to give the worst fighter a better chance.
Yeah.
That's what you're
I
asking them to do by saying, you know what, if you're up 2 rounds, they get coast. So you want me to dumb myself down for this guy just so he can have a chance to win?
Yeah,
That's
and who's
that's
to say
ridiculous.
if we're so worried about them being tired or whatever, and I'm putting in a lot of work riding this person out, punching them, whatever. If you stand me up and then I got to shoot for that takedown, I mean, maybe you're putting me in a disadvantageous position. If we're really worried about safety, uh, I don't know. That's a whole rabbit hole, but you're gonna have that conversation all by yourself and
I
later
know. I
next
mean,
month.
you know what? So and I definitely want to be most prepared and be as prepared as I possibly can because
Mhm.
I think I put myself in a position where Mike was like, "Hey, listen, I will let you speak to the commission." So like I'm going up to the board and I'm speaking to the commission. So I'm really going to try to sell this. And there may be some guys in MMA, like DC got on my case this weekend about talking about open scoring. Like, I don't know how he feels about it, but clearly, like, it's kind of a taboo thing. I didn't realize that, but
I didn't know that.
yeah, me neither. So, but I don't really care because for me, first and foremost, I got in this game as a fighter, so I understand what it is to fight and compete, and
Mhm.
I understand that I would like to know, and I think most people, most coaches would like to know where their fighter is at on the card. Regardless of how we think the fight is going, we need to know how those 3 guys think the fight is going.
Yeah. Now, there's two things with open scoring that the one thing that does worry me, let's say if a judge, particularly in a 3-round fight, screws up round 1, and now what if the coach mismanages going into round 2 because the judge is screwed up in round 1? I mean, I know that's probably few and far between, but to your point, like a lot of people, oh, the excitement factor, okay, this fight in the main event last week is a perfect example. If we had open scoring, we don't need to release the score of the fifth round. We could still have
Yeah,
that
yeah, you
excitement
don't. Yeah,
factor.
for sure, you don't release the last because the last round is scored as it is in real time. It's not like you.
Yeah,
It's not like we want them to be like counting punches and all that, but we just want to know where they're at on the card. And you don't have to. You can accumulate the scores. You don't have to say who scored what. You don't have
yeah,
to be like,
no,
yeah, this guy scored it. It don't have to be that way. It could just be a computer system where they punch in who won the round or whatever the case may be. Also, too, man, is like when I'm looking at that Demir Uzmagalov fight and
mhm,
Kuda fight, I'm thinking, man, we need to give more 10-10 rounds.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
That's I wonder if they're just worried that like because there's so few rounds in MMA that it's gonna draws, but maybe more draws will be
maybe it's
part
better.
of the
You know what I'm
sport.
saying? Like it's I
Mhm,
think more draws should be part of the sport because
mhm,
it sucks, man, when you lose a fight when you fought that hard,
mhm.
as Kuda did. And that the first round, like I forgot, they both split which 1 and 2, and then that last round was absolutely dead even to me. Like it was
Yeah.
like both guys going for it. It was dead even, and I'm like, this fight should be a draw. But
Mhm.
because we have this 10 point, and I stress this word, must, the
Must.
10 point must system, one guy has to go home with a loss. And I think
Mhm.
that is unfortunate for fighters that you have to lose, that one fighter has to lose a round just because that's a part of the rule system.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. I wonder how the promotions would feel about it. They
They wouldn't
probably
like
hate
it.
it.
They wouldn't like it. I
Yeah,
mean, I
yeah.
get it because they want a winner and they want a loser, and they
Mhm,
probably wouldn't like it. But if everybody always talks about we're here for the safety of the fighters, we're here for the benefit of the fighters,
mhm.
it doesn't seem that way.
Yeah, yeah. Because
It seems
okay,
like
we
it.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, it just seems like it's more. We'll take care of the fighters, but first we have to make sure that the crowd is entertained.
Yeah.
First, we have to make sure the crowd is guessing, and I get that too because it's a spectator sport. I get that, but the
O
fighters seem to be the last on the totem pole always.
Okay, then, but to your point too, um, making money should be a marathon, not a sprint. So let's say those 2 fighters had a draw in a badass fight. You can make a rematch, like, you can make more money with that, that fight will draw later on. But so, I mean, I'm with the 10-10. I'm with the open scoring. At first, I was indifferent about it, but I think the argument shows that it could be done. It could be done right. I think that you know things need to be tweaked before we just jump to it. But I'm all for it. Um, I guess that's really it, man. Dean, thank you so much for coming on. Best of luck to you next week, next month. I'll be checking in on all of that. Still trying to see if I can get up there for the weekend, but it's unlikely. But yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Oh, so where are you next weekend?
Um, Actually, next weekend I'm hanging out in Philly, and then after that it's International Fight Week, and then I'm going to UFC in Long Island, and then Dallas. So I'm working all these weekends, and
The
just
circus.
just the circus, man, just the circus.
All right, big guy. All
All
right.
right, my
Thank you
man.
so much.
All right,
Later.
you peace.